Hey there, everybody. I want to do a little report out from ngComp. And as we were talking, one of the features that I liked, maybe not the best, but I thought might be most useful in the future was some of the Chrome debugger tools. If you haven't used this feature in Chrome before, what it allows for is like field selection. So you can click on any object or browse through the HTML directly and select that object, and you can actually use the $0 command and it will reference that. So you can see now I can select it down here in the console. Well, in Angular 9, what they've done is exposed some of the kind of the insides of Angular to allow us to get to some of this. So if I do ng.getContext, I can now say, hey, pass in this $0, and it'll actually show what it's referencing inside of Angular. So something like this has produced this implicit function within it, or sorry, this implicit object. So if I actually wanted to see what was the parent of that, I can say get the owning component of it. And it turns out that that's that mat row. So if we go a little further up the chain, I want to know what owns mat row. I can say get owning component once again, pass in mat row, and it all breaks down from there. That's because of this. Sorry about that. Let's add this there. So I know that's part of mat table, so on and so forth. But one of the coolest features that I've seen is when you're actually like working on editing fields, you can do something like this. So on an input, if I wanted to check out these editable fields, I can select that now and work with this whole input field and say again, $0, that gets me this input field here. And I can say that same get context, which is my ingredient dialog component. Now within that component, I have a series of attributes that are sitting out here, or properties, sorry. And one of them that I kind of care about is this data property. The data property is a ng model from this list as well as connected to this front end UI. So what I might want to do is affect this quantity and set it to something like 5, let's say. So if I do ng.getContext and then pass in my $0, I can say .data. And actually, let's do a little type add. So let me go back here and do const dialog component equals that. Apparently I've already done this once, so let's steal another name. Okay. So my dialog component now, I can access those attributes we were looking at. So if I look at data, these are the two items coming in, and what I'm looking to change is this recipe ingredient. So I can now change the recipe ingredient and the quantity. We're gonna set that to 5. Now you might expect this to update immediately to say 5, but because we're not firing any of the Angular context or the comparison value for the change, we need to actually force change detection to fire within Angular. So what we can do is do ng.apply changes and then pass in our dialog component that we just created, and that will update this accordingly back to 5. So that's just some of what you can do to affect different properties and values. So you don't want to necessarily update your backend, you just want to test different features and how they flow through your app. This is kind of a cool way to do it. You'll notice if I refresh the page now, I didn't actually trigger a change or a save at that point. And the egg went back to 0 or back to 1. So Just a little tidbit for debugging within Chrome using Angular 9. Thanks.